with a really deep cut that only coach would catch, okay? So remember when the Lions poached us, a starting defensive lineman, I think it was defensive end, off of the Browns at the trade deadline and really didn't give them anything back. And even though the Browns clearly needed a lot more help to get to where I need them to go, I was like, oh, that's perfectly fine. I actually like that pick. That fits right into the script. You know what I mean? What wouldn't have fit into the script? The Lions getting Max Crosby. Well, why is that? That's crazy. Well, you've got the Lions winning. Nobody would have them not winning with Max Crosby. Well, exactly. You don't need everybody to pick them to win. They just need to win, right? The NFL's not trying. The Vegas isn't trying to pay any more money out than the bare minimum, right? So any way they can get you off the scent is fine. So you pick up an underperforming Brownie as opposed to like an absolute top 10 player in the league. You know what I mean? To fill your biggest gap right now, and then everybody gets to look forward to you. Like, how do you justify them not doing it again if they got Max Crosby and Hutchinson right there? That's what I'm saying. I don't got the Lions repeating. That would have made them too good. Because, like, they got to be... I think they're going to be good enough to win it, but the Jared Goff curse is going to do something crazy. Kicker forgets how to kick an important kick or something stupid. Right after a series of drop passes or something, more or less like we saw in the NFC Championship game last year where everybody forgot how to play. Couldn't hold on to the ball, keep dropping passes, everything. Right? So, yeah, Max Crosby being on the Lions isn't good at all, but where's the most important spot for him to be? He has to be on the fucking Raiders. Max Crosby is one of my favorite players right now because he's one of the only reasons in hell the Browns have a chance to fucking do what I'm telling you to do. Well, why is that? Because Max Crosby ain't down with tanking. They lost last week, but they were trying to fucking win that game. They almost pulled it off. They scored. They only lost by like a field goal. Okay? But the Raiders, no matter who they get in the draft, ain't somebody that's going to be as good as this motherfucker. So they can't piss him off. Ain't no way they're not doing everything to fucking win. They're thinking, well, whatever pick we get, that's whatever pick we get. Hopefully we make it count. And, that's that. But they're not in a position where they can just lay off the gas and expect to wake up with some rookies and start grooming them for a few years. Like, no, they have a superstar on their team that they need to make happy. They need to be showing that they're doing everything they can to get better, and that starts with winning as many games as you can every single season, right? So I'm not saying the Raiders are going to win a lot left, but we only need them to win one, and it's that last week of the season against the fucking Chargers, right? You know what I mean? So that's what the only way I think they can sell you the Raiders doing that, right? And the Raiders are already the perfect spoiler team. Anyways, they've always been like that, right? They love to just ruin a better team season when they don't have a chance, right? Ask my Eagles about it. So I'm just saying, I definitely like that a lot. Just some random things to be optimistic about in regards to our Browns. So number one, they are no longer in last place. There are officially two teams with worse records. We got the Raiders and the Jaguars. So they've proved to you they are not in tank mode, right? They fucked up their pick. A lot of people are just celebrating that like, Browns got a meaningless win. Ain't nobody taking them seriously just because they beat the Steelers in a blizzard on home field. Another thing I wanted to mention about the blizzard and why it shows like the true character of a team is things like really terrible field conditions. It minimizes the skill advantage. It kind of brings everything more to an even playing field, so it's almost entirely about who wants it more, because you're not as fast as you normally are, right? You're not getting as much traction as you normally are, so you got to just be going all out, slipping, falling, whatever you can do, just crawling, you know what I mean, to get to where you need to get. So the Browns did everything they needed to do. Obviously, they proved the Browns have a better coach. You didn't hear anything about what Stefanski did wrong this week, did you? It was all about Tomlin. And I'm telling you, they are putting him through hell. They are done with him. He is for sure getting fired. I called that a while ago, but I'm telling you, it's really, really, really happening. He is done so. Okay? Now, as far as, I thought of, a bunch of random things in regards to our playoff scenarios that make Steven stronger, as far as, the matchups and stuff. Like, the Bengals going in red hot and only dropping the one to the Browns. First, it makes the Browns look like low-key really good, right? They're going to give you a billion excuses why those wins didn't matter, just like they did with my Eagles. But we know they fucking matter, right? Now, but as far as, so they're going to be the only team that's beaten the Bengals, right? And to me, that's a tell that they're one of the only teams in the AFC who would be able to beat that Bengals team at that point. Why do I like the Bengals? They got one of the best quarterbacks in the league. That matters, right? You know what I mean? So, and a lot of people were taking the Bengals to make the Super Bowl, so you find some bullshit reason to get them in the playoffs. One that's more money going on them to win the Super Bowl. That's going straight to Vegas. They're not going to collect, right? Vegas just taking it all. And then also with the 4-in script, it's amazing with the Hard Knocks storyline because Hard Knocks said they're going to follow to the very end. So then they still get to cover all 4 teams that first week, and 2 of them are playing each other, right? And then the very next week, it would be Ravens-Browns, right? Which has never happened. Everybody, like, even though the Ravens just stopped the red hot Bengals, like, yeah, the Browns beat them. You know what I mean? But, like, are you really going to be that optimistic that the Browns are going to find a way to beat the Ravens 3 times in a season? They're going to tell you how rare that is, how very few times it's ever happened, right? And they got to do it to this team that basically stole their team from Cleveland and moved it to Baltimore and renamed it. You know what I mean? So it's definitely going to be a lot of different angles Hard Knocks can take going into that. But also, like, with the following the last 4 teams, like, nobody's going to be focusing on the last thing Vegas wants to do is, like, say you've caught on to one of these teams that's going to win it. It's either going to be Steelers, Ravens, Bengals, or Browns. They don't want to take one of those options off the table. They want to play 4-cup money as long as possible, right? You know what I mean? So, like, even if you've caught on to that, they want you trying to figure out which one of these 4 it is. Even though the Browns are hot and all that sort of stuff, it's the easiest team to try to dismiss and just forget about. They're going to be the fourth dog at the bowl from that conference. They're the feel-good story, right? But look what happened to the Tigers. You see what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, they just got bounced out to the Guardians anyway. You know what I mean? So everybody's going to be thinking it's something like that. And then the Guardians just got bounced out to the Yankees. So, like, even if the Browns find a way to win one, it's like, it's just a matter of time. It's fucking Cleveland. Right? So, but, Browns fans are going to kind of be, like, really going hard on it. They're going to be thinking it's their year, and they're going to be pouring money on winning the Super Bowl, which is all going to go bad because they're not winning the Super Bowl. They're just getting there, right? They're just showing up, having a little party and going home, right? Like, they're not taking the hardware home, right? So all that money's going straight to Vegas too. But, seeing Ohio State win it and the Browns in there, they're going to be all drunk off the punch, bro. Browns fans are going to be nuts. Way crazier than Lions fans even. You know what I mean? You're going to get all these stories about these out-of-control Browns fans and stuff and how insane they are and tearing shit up or whatever they're doing. Going, like, just because they're traveling the whole way, too. You're not going to have any home playoff games. So these Cleveland fans are just going to invade these historic stadiums, besides the Ravens. Like, the Ravens isn't historic, right? But going to Arrowhead, what's the other one? I guess the Texans one isn't either, but yeah, closing out by invading Arrowhead, like, you get the point, like, yeah, nobody's going to care too much, so they're going to think it's funny when they're tearing up the Texans stadium and in the Ravens stadium, you know what I mean? It'll get a little bit more serious with the Ravens because, like, they've won some shit, at least there's a little bit of respect on it, but, I don't think, like, too many people have, like, a super deep affinity for the Ravens outside of their fan base, you know what I mean? It's kind of just like a team, I feel like, to most people. And then, but then, yeah, like, when they go to the Chiefs and they make the Swifties cry in their own house and they're, like, fucking throwing snowballs or doing snow angels on the field or whatever the fuck stupid shit they're doing. Like, all, you know what I mean? Like, just, that's the only time in their entire lives they've ever got to see the Browns go to the fucking Super Bowl, and it's in Arrowhead. Like, can you imagine what the fuck they're going to do on the streets of Kansas City? You know what I mean? It's going to be going fucking nuts. So, I'm just saying, I definitely still very much like the script. But, yeah, as far as, like, I just feel like, so this was, like, the exact point in the season that I had predicted, like, okay, this is when things are going to start going our way. I wasn't confident. Jameis pulling it off. I really wanted him to get the fuck out of there the whole game. I'm like, God, put Zappy. And I think Dorian came in for, like, 1 second. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, maybe he'll get hurt too. And they just went right back to Jameis. I'm like, damn. So I still firmly believe we got to get those guys out of there. Because, like, I only feel like Jameis was able to win because of the blizzard. Like, that was, like, the script there. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, so it's just down to heart. Jameis isn't a pussy. he's just kind of stupid, right? Like, so, yeah, he'll charge it in there for you, but he's not going to be able to do that against better teams in better conditions, right? So he's got to get out of there big time before he throws a game away, because he's going to start throwing picks. That's the only thing. That's the one thing you can count on with Jameis, is he's inconsistent. And he kind of showed up this week. So next week really, really, really fucking matters, and he cannot blow it. They got to find a way. Like, who are the Browns playing? Is it the Broncos? I'm really hoping that's the next one. Because I feel, yeah, okay, so thank God. So they got the Broncos on Monday Night Football. Once again, what did I tell you? Perfect time to put a fucking quarterback under, right? You know what I mean? So, and the Broncos in their own house, that defense is nasty. I feel like I can count on them to take out a couple quarterbacks. That's probably the only team I trust the rest of the way that could deliver that punishment. Honestly, yeah, all the rest wouldn't come in time. We need Justin Herbert going down to the Ravens tonight, and we need the Broncos taking out 2 Brownie quarterbacks, because we need Bailey Zappi in this rotation so we can win some fucking games. All right, so I'm just saying, it's definitely make or break time, but considering that, man, I'm really not super nervous. Like, I'm very surprised at how, at least easy it is to justify and be like, okay, this actually did seem to work out just right, but man, like, you didn't, like, what kind of fucking Browns run would be worth it if it wasn't some crazy bullshit magical, you know what I mean? So that was the hard. Then, like, okay, the Ohio State makes the whole thing easier to see, because that was the one I was really, really worried about, because obviously I wasn't planning on putting any picks in college, so I just didn't think of how that was going to connect at all. But we knew Michigan won last year, and we kind of figured that's how it's tied into the lines right here, right? So you get Ohio State in there winning it. And, like, because my thing was, putting the lines over on the Browns is awesome. But how in the fuck can they justify just ripping Browns Hearts fans out like that? Like, that was the thing that really blew my mind. It's like, they're really just going to kill them like that? But yeah, if they got the Ohio State championship to fall back on, I think they'll be just fine with it. You know what I mean? It's like, at least not like, it's not like it's Michigan and the Lions. Like, we got one of them. You know what I mean? Ohio State's one of the best teams in the history of college football, right? So they'll be very proud of that. They'll be totally straight with the Brownies dumping it, because that was honestly one of my biggest fears. Like, that just doesn't feel right, right? But now it does. Now I know that Cleveland's getting something, and they got a baseball title coming. They'll be fucking fine, right? And the Cavs are going and losing, right? Then that makes more sense for us too, with having 2 win it, because, like, oh, it's because they're making up for 2 losers, right? It's not just a 1-1, right? Whereas with the Lakers, or with LA, it almost seems insane. It's like they're getting the Dodgers, the Lakers, and UCLA. I'm honestly not so sure about that, but if any city would, they'd be giving that to LA, right? Makes up for a lot of the Trump stuff. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, like, and then, like, LeBron can shun the White House visit, like, that makes perfect sense. This Trump. And then the UCLA thing, like, why did Bill Walton die? Like, of all this famous Celtics, all that sort of stuff, like, yeah, Bill Russell died too, but Bill Walton, like, I feel like they did Bill Walton and Bill Russell together, so you'd link them together. Like, it's almost like they made that Celtics one overly obvious, and I was like, what the fuck was that about? You know what I mean? But to me, I never associated Bill Walton with the Celtics. He was always a Blazer to me, and I hate the Celtics, right? But, like, I always thought it was weird that they, like, claimed him. You know what I mean? Like, I might be wrong here. I'm gonna fact check Coach on the spot here, but I always felt like he was better served with the Blazers. Yeah, that's who picked him. And he played there for 5 fucking years. He finished his last 3 years in Boston. Who gives a fuck? Right? Like, yeah, he won a championship there, probably, like, almost crippled, like, barely able to move around out there. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I don't think we've looked at Walton yet. Oh no, we did, didn't we? Yeah, we definitely did. What did he give us? 6th man of the year in '86. Yeah, I remember that one. Now, but like I said, so that was a really good, like, so it's like, oh, you just associate those 2 things in your mind and give it to Celtics and move on. You stop thinking about it, right? But to me, Walton for sure is most memorable for his time with the coach, right? You know what I mean? Wooden. So I think that was a UCLA sacrifice that they very strategically timed during the NBA playoffs. All right, so Coach loves his betting analogy, so he couldn't forgive himself that he didn't follow the line of thinking to its logical conclusion on the shell game analogy. I called it 3-card money, but it's virtually the same concept, but we're talking about the shell game specifically here. So what Hard Knocks in the NFL are doing together. They're running a 4-team shell game, and the team with the ball, that's who's winning the championship, right? So if you've caught on to one of these shells, they want you to have to pick between the 4. So the first round of playoffs, you're gonna have all 4 AFC North teams in there, okay? And then of course the Bengals are gonna lose. That's it. The next week, 3 of the 4 teams are AFC North. You got Steelers versus Chiefs, and you got Ravens versus Browns. So then they've only taken 1 shell off the table, and they had to. There's no way to keep 4 in it, right? So there's still 3. You still got to keep an eye on the 3. Odds are lower, right? It's still the 3rd one you would pick, right? So then after that one, since the Ravens and the Steelers will be out, and it'll be just the Browns, obviously you're down to 1 shell. So you're like, oh, fuck, that's the team with the ball. You know what I mean? They're winning the championship. So you're going to put money on them, but they're just going to the fucking dance to lose. The whole AFC Hard Knocks thing is just to distract you from the fucking Lions anyway.